everyone, and welcome to Sister Scholars. My name is Chiedza, your co-host, and I am a PhD researcher at the University of Chester. My research is centred on exploring the lived experiences, career trajectories of Black women teachers from across the UK. Okay, Iman, so first things first then, let's try and define some terms. I think if we can set a premise as to the who, the what, the where, the when, it will give a bit of context as to the why behind this series. So today's episode is really aimed at defining and establishing an understanding of what sisterhood and scholarship looks like and means to us. So if I pick on Iman,
go for it, girl.
If I pick sisterhood as the word to zoom in on, and you look at scholarship and just try and define that for us, and we can explore, number one, what it means to us, why it's important to us, and what we want to do to continue to leverage that. So sisterhood.
The floor's yours.
The floor's mine. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to read a definition that I've attempted to put together, Iman. So, in my estimation, sisterhood refers to a deep bond of unity among a collective of women, of course, and that is based on shared experiences, values, and common goals. This bond transcends biological relations, and it's built on a mutual respect, support, and understanding, and it embodies the spirit of solidarity, where the members, which are ourselves as women in this community, offer emotional, social, and sometimes physical support. So it's a form of kinship, not by blood, but by choice.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Let's say it louder for those at the back.
Not by blood, but by choice. And the reason that really stands out to me is that, you know, with family, you can't pick them. Me and you can sit here and have a full-on therapy session, Iman.
Oh, we can.
About
for days.
Our family dynamics. You know, the family that you didn't pick, you fell into that household. Do you know what I mean? But then this sisterhood is something that me and yourself have chosen to be a part of, to be active participants in. And that's sisterhood to me.
And it's just so powerful. It's a powerful feeling knowing that you've chosen that relationship, that bond. It's something that you have decided, you've made that decision to build and to grow on this. And I think it's really essential to that development and your growth, isn't it?
Yeah. So basically you chose me.
I did. I chose
you. You chose me and I chose you.
I know. And do you know what? It was one of the best decisions I ever made. Not to be cheesy.
But like thinking back though, like even how we came across each other, that for a little bit of context, myself and yourself both grew up in Leeds. Went to different high schools. You're in the academic year above me, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
But we went to the same sixth form college. Shout out Notre Dame College.
Notre Dame.
LWDS 0113. But then, even though we went to the same college, we didn't connect in any way, shape or form. We weren't in the same friendship circle.
We had friends in common though.
Friends in common, mutual friends, you know, by postcode, by school, by association. But when did we actually connect? What year was it?
I think
you can tell this part of the story.
Was it like 2020 or 2021?
Yeah, thereabouts.
Around that time. And I think just one day, scrolling through Instagram once upon a time. And I think that's when I came across one of the workshops that RARA was doing.
And at the time it would have been an online one because it was in the middle of a pandemic, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I think at that time we were actually unpacking the race report.
Oh, that was an interesting time to be alive.
That was a very interesting time.
We won't go down that rabbit hole today because there's a lot to be said.
That's another conversation for another day.
What comprised that report,
Definitely. Maybe one day we can actually unpack it together.
With our sister scholars.
Yeah. But so I think that's just how it kind of started. I just got in contact really and we just kind of started having that conversation around race and equality and just seeing what we can do, and I guess that's where the journey began really. That's when you know my involvement in RARA began, and I think that's really when we started to make moves in this space, and I think because
now you're sitting here as co-director, do you know what I mean? Like
we're here. Like,
do you know what's interesting about it though for me? Again, going back to the fact that we didn't have any reason to be connected. Yeah, two black girls that both educated in Leeds up to sixth form level before we both went off to uni. You went to Manchester, I went to Liverpool. Yeah. But it's the fact that it took for this real move and shift in the social, racial, political climate for us to really connect on that common goal, which was advancing race equality, particularly in the education space.
It was the right time, right place, I think, really.
And that kind of captures that element of sisterhood in that one thing that united us, which was
that bond.
That bond, which is we're bonding on, number one, a shared lived experience, and a shared sense of purpose, which was to do something about it, to respond, to be active in this space. That's really interesting how we've arrived at that. But I guess zooming in on the scholarship element, then how does scholarship come into our sisterhood, this thing that we're trying to build?
So just for a bit of context, so Chiedza and myself, we are both PhD researchers. So Chiedza's a bit further along in the way in her journey, and she'll tell you all about that at some point. But yeah, I've recently started my PhD, and I think both of us, we've got a teaching background, don't we? So we are both in that academic space. We have been for a good few years now. So when it comes to scholarship and academia and just trying to identify how the two coexist. I think for me, so I actually do have a bit of a definition here as well. So there were a few definitions that I really liked that I just tried to piece together because I feel like it really spoke volumes as to what scholarship really is. So the first thing is the idea of valuing and promoting intellectual endeavours. And our society has started to recognise over time that the importance of academic study and researching in advancing human understanding and progress. So I'm gonna just dissect that part for a moment, right? And I think the whole idea of advancing human understanding, that really speaks volumes. It speaks really loudly to me. And I think when you're thinking about advancing human understanding, that's the mindset. It's shifting that mindset. And I think there's so many spaces within society where there's a requirement for that mind shift, that mindset shift.
A dire need.
There's a need for it. And that just goes back to the reason why we even connected in the first place. That need to shift that mindset when it comes to the way people perceive people, the judgment that there is. And then going on to the second part of it. So scholarship, it refers to the activities of students and academics in pursuing deep and rigorous study and researching within their fields of expertise. So I think that just clearly explains what we're doing. That's the journey that we're on right now. This academic journey, it's really about developing our minds, developing our understanding of the way we see things, the way society is.
I like the word rigorous. It sounds a little less passive, a little less blasé. It sounds really on purpose and intentional. Because to choose to do a PhD, to choose to pursue any kind of intellectual endeavour, it's not an easy task. Like, it's yes, it can't be compared to the physical labourer's work of, putting your hands to work, but it's quite a fatiguing and mentally, cognitively fatiguing exercise to pursue expertise or pursue knowledge in this space.
Exactly.
The language keeps changing, knowledge keeps evolving, concepts are continually developed, and we're constantly having to stay up to date with what other scholars are saying in our space while we're trying to contribute new knowledge to the same space.
It's a continuous journey of development of the development of the mind. And that's the focus of it. So when we combine sisterhood and scholarship, then, it just creates the idea that we are going on that journey of developing our minds together in unity.
That's it.
And I think it's really important because it's not an easy journey. Anyone who has, who's just kind of gone through that, anyone who's explored academia, who's done a degree, whether it's undergrad degree, whether it's postgrad, whatever level it is, it can be a really difficult journey to be in.
Absolutely.
It's not easy. So
difficult, yes, but I actually want to add to that and add a tad bit of encouragement for the person thinking, I'm not smart enough to be an academic, or I'm not intellectual enough, or I didn't get all A's in my GCSEs, or I didn't get first at uni. Well, neither did I. Okay. I don't know about you, Iman, but neither did I.
And do you know what? That is not a barrier.
It's really not. It's not the
a
end.
barrier.
It's not. It doesn't stop you from choosing to progress or access in that space.
Yeah.
Because, Iman, I left Notre Dame with like B's, C's. Yeah. I struggled quite a lot in college because it was, for me, it was such a huge jump from GCSE that I just wasn't prepared for.
Exactly.
And on top of that, Notre Dame College wasn't a sixth form directly connected to a school where you've kind of transitioned to the same teachers that know you. It's the same environment. So it was a change of environment. It was like a stepping stone. It was one step away from being in a university environment where you're not being chased by teachers, lecturers. Freedom. Yeah. And I don't think I really knew what to do with that freedom. I'm not going to lie. I didn't really understand what to do with them free periods. Free periods are not to go to Nando's and be chilling with the man them. Do you know what I mean?
Don't be taking a trip into town.
It was when everyone was going to top McDonald's to check up and chill. And it's like, no, that's the time you should have been heading to the library to actually read and study. So that's a whole conversation about creating a culture of like a studious culture of scholarship, especially among young minds, because I genuinely didn't know how to navigate that space at the time. But that's not the point. The point is, what is the point that we're trying to make right now? I digressed.
So I think just looking at the combination of scholarship. And sisterhood, and just seeing how the two can hand in hand work together, and we can progress, we can actually excel in these spaces, because it's all about where you position yourself, how you position yourself, and who you're talking to, the spaces that you're in. And I think one thing for us, we will kind of delve into this a bit later on as well, but one thing for us that we've really tried to do is put ourselves in the right spaces.
What does that look like, Iman, putting yourself in the right spaces, and why?
Well, that's a good question, Chiedza. Yeah. So that's a very good question. And do you know what? The way I see it is putting yourself in the right spaces is putting yourself in spaces that can empower you. Yeah. Spaces that can educate you. Yeah. Spaces that can give you opportunities that you might not necessarily get in your environment of, that you're most familiar with. Yeah. Yeah. So I think for us, it's been seeing people who look like us. Yeah. Being in places where we are represented. Yes. Being in places where we can speak up, where our voices will be heard. Also being in places where we feel that we can actually make a change. And where people will actually benefit from our support as well. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's a two-way thing. Yes. Scholarship, sisterhood, it's a two-way thing. It's not just taking and taking and taking. Yeah. It's that relationship, it's that bond where we are giving ourselves. Yeah. To each other. Exactly. That's it.
I do like how you're kind of giving some context to what it looks like to be in a sisterhood, because I feel like many times you find people expecting to be on the receiving end of a service or support or help, but not often do you find people asking, what am I giving to the community too? Yeah. Like, don't be that person that's just sapping, just draining, just taking. Yeah. Without, it's really about being an active participant. Yeah. It's an exchange, isn't it? Because I'm not going to lie, Iman, I feel like the reason why we have developed this friendship over time is that we have both seen the value that we add to each other.
Yeah, feeding into each other. I feel like every conversation we have, I leave it feeling empowered. I leave it feeling like I can conquer the world. Yeah,
like we are going to fix the whole wide world today because I've got my sister scholar here. Right? No, but I genuinely believe that, so that if there is that constant exchange where we feel like we are pouring in, and yes, we're receiving, our cups are never empty. We're never run dry. Do you know what I mean?
That's it.
So we'll definitely zoom in on that in terms of what it looks like to leverage sisterhood at a later on in the season. But it's definitely an interesting point on being an active participant is what makes a sisterhood beneficial and a beautiful thing to be a part of.
Definitely. And I think that just really sums it up, doesn't it? Yeah. It really just brings it all together, because just having that sisterhood, having that relationship, that bond where you are able to navigate these difficult experiences in life together, I think it's really essential. And, it is definitely something we will explore in different contexts as well, and just see how sisterhood can actually how important sisterhood is in exploring different spaces, whether it's your career, whether it's academia, whether it's personal matters as well. It's really important to have that community. That's
it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I guess just to wrap up this particular conversation, Iman, who would you say our sisterhood is for? Who is it that we are inviting to be in our space as sister scholars? Yeah, we've introduced ourselves. We've given the context as to who we are, what we do. I myself am based in Liverpool as scholar. You yourself are based in Leeds. Yeah. So already we've got a locality, a geography conversation here. But who is this sisterhood for in your estimation?
So I'd say this sisterhood is for anyone who is on that journey, on the journey of academia, on the journey where they're trying to figure things out. They may be at the start of the journey, in the middle, at the end. They may have finished the PhD as well. But I think it's just really important to have people who you can seek advice from, people who might look like you, but also people that don't look like you as well. People who have had similar experiences to you, but also people who've had completely different life experiences. So it's really important to be able to share these experiences and just grow from them and just learn from each other. So in a nutshell, I'd say this sisterhood is for anyone who's on that academic journey, who just needs that motivation, who just needs that community, that sense of belonging.
Boom. We all need to feel like we belong.
Yeah.
Because that feeling of being marginalised is it's a cold feeling.
Yeah.
It's being there.
It's a very defeating.
It's defeating. It's
feeling.
Discouraging.
Yeah.
And, we're not going to get into it now in terms of the literature, but we can see how that impacts career trajectories, likelihood of even completing your PhD, because you're just so alone on that journey. It can be an isolating journey, but it's not something to be done or pursued in isolation.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, that's really helpful. Yeah. Iman, thank you very much for that. So we'll call it quits for today and we'll move on to the next episode.
Lovely.
Yeah.